Yeah. I owe Misty the Book Rat a tag video. So this is it. Misty the Book Rat, seen here being booky. You can actually click on this picture and go straight to the old book tag. And it is kind of old, because this book tag is about the first half of 2011 and just questions about different books about the first half of 2011. The first question is the book you're an evangelist for. And if by evangelist you mean setting up a tent and handling snakes and things, then I would totally do that for Please Ignore Vera Dietz by A.S. King. Amy's book here is amazing. It is at once contemporary realism, but there's a magical component to it, which may or may not be a ghost or just plain flat out hallucinations. It's both comedic and serious and very, very dark, and the main character, Vera Dietz, is just absolutely wonderfully written, and I can't recommend it enough. That's my come to Jesus for Please Ignore Vera Dietz. There you go. The next book is your most surprisingly good book, and it's Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. I had no idea. At first, I thought that this was a romance because of the cover, and so when I read it, I was actually recommended to read it by a friend of mine who's like, you have to read it, the writing is amazing, and the writing is it's beautiful, it is spot on. And I think I've seen some people say that they didn't like the book because they didn't like the fact that the main character was such a bitch. And she really is. And I think that's what drew me to her. I love that bitch voice. I love really broken people. I think that people that are super happy and heroic and things like that don't really resonate for me because they don't feel real. And I think that's because I grew up in an age where people were very self-centered, and the 80s, right? And they just didn't seem very heroic, and so that's not something that I look for when I read fiction or watch movies or things like that. I think that's why I'm more interested in independent film than Hollywood movies, because they're so hero-oriented. And so, Before I Fall, you've got this bitchy character who has to relive her life over and over again, a day in her life over and over again, until she gets it right. And in fact, the ending of this book, definitely Lauren Oliver gets it right. And I was happy with it. The next question is one that I actually talked with Misty last night about on Twitter, and I'm not going to answer the question, and that is, what is my biggest disappointment so far? And I have had a big disappointment this year in terms of a book that I've read, or two, or three, or whatever. And I think it's professional courtesy from author to author not to do bad reviews on books. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that. The funniest book that I read this year, so far, actually I've read a funnier book since this, but I'm only talking about the first 6 months of the year, is Libba Bray's Beauty Queens. And I think by now people pretty much know that this is a really fun satire. It's told in a really interesting way with footnotes and little fun facts pages and commercial breaks and things like that. But underneath it all, it's pretty much a kind of a stunning indictment of materialism, and it's just fun. It's really fun and funny. So my favorite cover published this first half of the year, I would say, is still Wither by Lauren DeStefano. It's just beautiful. Now, I've seen the cover of Fever. It doesn't quite at all live up to the cover of Wither. I mean, I think this is just fantastic. Just the book design completely is just stunning. You know, the only thing that could make it better is that buttery cover. And you know I'd love to talk about some buttery covers. I'm going to talk with my editor about some buttery covers. You know that's right. All right. My favorite character this year, and this is The Replacement. Mackie is my favorite character this year, and I think it's because he had so many things that were like against him. He was really kind of tortured in the fact that he was, you know, I think we all know that the replacement means that he has a connection to the Fae, and in this world the Fae are very, very dark. I mean, they live underneath garbage dumps, and It's sort of a degenerated phase system that's sort of rotting and gone to shit, and I really loved it. And the thing about Mackie is that he's so debilitated by the iron in people's blood that his relationships are affected by that, and he can't really become too close to his possible girlfriend without taking these drugs and things like that. It's really I just really liked it, and I liked him, and I think that I would definitely read a sequel, although it looks like I don't know if it's going to be a standalone or not, but it's fantastic, and I would read more. I would definitely read more. Most beautifully written book, and that's a book that I've read this year. It says the books can have been published at any time, except for the cover one. It has to have been, this year. And the most beautifully written book that I read this year was The Positively True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. And I don't have a cover for that, and I'm not going to look it up, because I'm going to do another tag video right after this. Junior is the main character in the book, and it's told from his perspective. He's also a comic artist, and so the book is sort of scattered with these images and that he's drawing and stuff, and it's both sad and hilarious, and the voice is so capturing that by the second paragraph you're totally into it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Most thought-provoking book, or a book that grew on me. I'm going to go with most thought-provoking, and I'm going to say that was Please Ignore Vera Dietz. I'll show you again, because I'm pimping it out. Please Ignore Vera Dietz. It is, I think what makes it so brilliant is that you're not quite sure. You're not quite sure whether these things that Vera's seeing and that are sort of directing her life are real, or is it because she is so traumatized by the events of her life that she's sort of projecting them from her mind. And thinking about that kind of thing, and about how trauma works, and how about dealing with death works, it just made me respect the author so much more. There's so much in this book. It's just amazing. And if you haven't read it, you need to get on it. You need to get on it. Book you want to see made into a movie. I have, you can see him back here, Hunger, Lies, and Plague, but I want to say Gone. For sure, Gone needs to be a movie, and I could see it happening. It has that feel like the Stephen King movie, or the book. The book even felt like a Stephen King movie, actually, as I read it. And it was one of those things that it read so quick, and it seems to me, I think Michael Grant is a screenwriter, because there's elements to it that is very visual and very fast-paced, and yeah, it would make a great movie. It would make a great series of movies. So, more so than books that are getting turned into movies, I have to say, probably. So, my wish list for the second half of 2011, I'll give you two choices. You can go with my YA wish list for the second half of the year. Click it. Click it. Or, because I have to stretch out for time or else my video thing will mess up, you can go with my adult wish list for the last half of 2011. What's it going to be? I don't know. It's really up to you. That's it. Stick around for another tag video or something.